Hey everybody, Mike Lowe here. Thanks for tuning in. This is episode 8, and we are at the off season now of our Same Old Lions franchise series here. So we've gone through the 2020 season. Lions finished 5-11. 5-11? Yeah, 5-11. Saw some improvement in the second half of the season, but decided to make some changes. And we are right at the start of free agency here. Going to talk about the game plan for the Lions moving forward. Probably even get into the draft here. This is Sunday morning when this is being streamed. So we're going to play pretty much up to the start of the Lions game against the Saints here in real life. So first thing you can notice, we do have a new head coach. One of the very, very first things that I did in this offseason, prior to the surprise of no Lions fans, is we did fire Coach Matt Patricia, and in comes new head coach Tomas Pita, I believe is how you'd say his name, or Thomas Pita. Coach Pita here is a guy who is going to run a vertical zone run. He's more of a 4-3 under coach, but truthfully, I wanted just to kind of set the defensive scheme as a base 4-3, simply because it gives us a few more archetype options there that you can see on the right, versus if we went with the 4-3 under, which I like in theory. It only gives you kind of like one type of safety, for instance. It only gives you like speed rushing defensive tackles, which wasn't a good fit. So in this fictitious discussion that we had with Coach Pita during the hire, he said, listen, come on board, but we're going to run more of a base 4-3 here. So vertical zone run fits our team pretty well already. Again, it gives us a little bit more flexibility, but it also kind of keeps the offense moving a little bit. And again, I just went through and kind of picked out two playbooks that I want to give a whirl next year. Pretty much eliminating the fullback from our offense entirely outside of goal line. And then this is, again, a 4-3 base, but using 4-6. I also use big nickel sometimes. And so a bit more of a traditional, but again, I think in order to try and stop the run in this game, what I've noticed at least, even though Danny Shelton played really well, is really just getting that second defensive tackle. So that's something I think is going to make a lot of sense. So what have we done since then? A few things. We have done a few things here, and I can show you. The Lions, we started by not only just releasing our head coach, but we went through and cut a ton of players. It's funny, you know, as a real life Lions fan, and these are Madden ratings, right? So they're not perfectly aligned to real life, but I mean, they're kind of close, right? One thing I'm noticing more about the general manager is, yikes, he has made some really, really weird signings. I mean, some of these guys that were signed were either, terrible, super overpaid, or in some cases both. Now, these first few guys here, these are more just kind of depth guys that I didn't really see kind of fitting what we're trying to do. So you can see we released quite a few players there. But Christian Jones, a linebacker who actually played fairly decent, but linebacking was one of our biggest weaknesses for sure, trying to stop the run. Jones was signed an extension by Bob Quinn, not sure why. Chase Daniels was probably one of the highest paid backup quarterbacks in NFL history. He's long gone. He was pretty useless. Nick Williams, overpaid, not very good. Jesse James, if you're a Lions fan, you know all about him. In regards to unfortunately being underutilized, I think Jesse James is a decent player, but signed a huge extension or a huge contract before they drafted T.J. Hawkinson. So we got rid of him too, and we're very close to getting rid of another signee of the Quinn era, which is going to be our right tackle. But first, we have a free agent bid out on a guy, which I'll talk about first. But I'm just to kind of show you, it's probably easier if I just go to the roster itself, or we can we'll go to roster. But the only quarterback on the roster right now is Stafford, who I would be open to trading. Actually, you know what, it's probably easier if we go to the salary page. The salary page, in my opinion, is probably the best place to kind of see all things at once. But here you can see, you know, what the penalty is for releasing them. You can see their salary the next 2 years. You know, Stafford's overpaid, for being an 82 overall. But it is what it is at this point. I mean, we need a quarterback. And so, it's if a quarterback follows us in the draft we like, we will definitely carry both him and Stafford. Could this be Stafford's last year as a Lion? It's very possible. Kerryon Johnson, we have on the trade block. I think just moving forward, we like DeAndre Swift, and we think Bo Scarborough can kind of step into Kerryon Johnson's kind of power back role a little bit more. We will probably be looking, as I showed on a previous stream, at a receiving back that we'll probably grab pretty late in the draft that we have our eye on. So that will kind of give us our backfield there. Fullback, no one cares. We're pretty thin at receiver, as you can see. We did not re-sign Marvin Jones, who is the second best receiver available in free agency. I actually like Quentin Cephas, but he's not a guy, obviously, we really want starting or anything like that. He's not he's not a good route runner. He's not very fast, but he's got good hands. So he's a guy I like having on the roster, but it would be nice if he had a little bit better development. But worst case, could he be a receiver 3 or receiver 2 even? Maybe. I mean, you could probably get him up to a 70 overall, and if he has a decent year, you get a upgrade to his development. Speaking of upgrade to development, look who is now a superstar X Factor after having a hell of a year. We also promoted him to being a team captain for next year. So if we look at his final stat line, I tweeted this out earlier with 2 games left, but he finishes with 74 catches, which is a career high. A career high in yardage, 1328. Receiving yards actually came down just a hair, but pretty much in line. But his average per game does go up there, and 14 touchdowns. So he had just a stellar year for us. He was, I think, second in yardage, second in touchdowns for receivers, and did receive that X Factor upgrade. So he's just a beast of a player. So at the same time, if we had to go with the Quentin Cephas, could we? I think there's some receivers in the draft we can get. We also have Hawkinson, who could start to develop kind of into a number 2 option. So it's not the end of the world if we had to go with him as our number 2 option there. And I also like, the running backs aren't too bad themselves, especially if we bring in more of a receiving back. So, but again, as I said, the receiving core is very, very low. These guys were on the practice squad last year. I actually don't mind Victor Fulton. Again, he's kind of a big body receiver, but I don't really know if Tom Kennedy is more of a slot guy, but he's not really the route running that I'd be looking for in a slot guy. But again, it's pretty thin at receiver, I guess, is the long and short story there. Taylor Decker is a guy probably in his last year as a Lion. I don't want to cut him right now because the penalty is so high. And he actually played okay. I don't even know. He actually held his own. I did strip him of his tackle. He gave up 5 sacks. I was thinking, I don't remember him giving up a sack, but we did strip him of his captaincy. So sorry, Taylor Decker there. So let's see. Guard, interior lineman we could definitely use. We have, of course, Ragnow, who's been a great player. Jonah Jackson has done okay as a rookie. Allowed 4 sacks. And so, as I mentioned, Julio Palavati Vaitai, I think is how you say his name. But anyway, he is a guy that we will be very, very much so looking to replace. It's one of these guys, again, just kind of a puzzling signing, at least in the Madden world. When you look at the money that this guy got, look at this. 10 million, 8 million, 10, and this guy, we will happily take this cap hit just to get rid of those future years at this point, if we can sign another right tackle. Tyrell Crosby actually played well in the beginning and then started to kind of come apart a bit. You can see it's a huge weakness for us. He gave up 10 sacks. And in the league in general, but especially in this division, there are some really, really tough left ends or guys coming off that left side or I guess the right side of the offensive line. Whether it's Khalil Mack or it's one of the Smith brothers with the Packers and so on. It's a handful. So right tackle is definitely a spot we're looking to upgrade here. Is Vaitai a guy we could play a little bit more? He's got a 68 pass block. He's undisciplined. This is not a guy I want on this team. Moving to the ends, Deshaun Hand is going to actually play defensive tackle for us now in a 4-3. He's a big enough guy that we can just slide him in. And I don't do position changes. I know because the AI teams don't do it. I know some people go through and I just edit all the teams. That to me takes too long. I don't want to deal with that. So just to keep things on a level playing field, I'll play Deshaun Hand defensive tackle, but I won't edit his position. So he's not going to. I mean, he's luckily still actually is a fit in the scheme, so it just kind of works out. But at 297, he can be a nice defensive tackle too there. Let's see, Julian Okwara then becomes our actual right end, our speed rushing right end, just a 70 overall, but that's a position we could upgrade. Trey Flowers be on the other end, and then Danny Shelton's the other defensive tackle there, with some depth guys behind all of those guys. Linebacker's a big spot of need. Jamie Collins is really the only linebacker we have. Jelani Tavai is a guy, he's just... I don't know, man. I don't know. I truly don't know. This is maybe the first question on this stream that I can ask people, but like I don't know what to make of him. Like, you know, he had 79 tackles as a rookie, 63 this year. He's just kind of a body at this point, right? I mean, I like Jelani Tavai. I don't know. He's our only really other. He's literally our only other linebacker on the team. You know, he's making decent money. Is this a guy we want to just kind of plug in as our middle linebacker? We're going to be running nickel a lot this year, so we really only need 2 starters. And I've been looking at him. I've been looking at Dante Hightower, actually, another former Patriot, of course. But I don't know if I want to spend the money on him because I'm not sure the upgrade will be worth it. So that'll be another question I'll chat about here in a minute. But again, 3 really strong corners. I think we're going to try to get Okudah into a starting spot this year. And if we do draft like another corner, if we find like a nice prospect or something that could develop, I may look to move, you know, probably Desmond Trufant, who's at 30 now. We could look to move him for another piece that maybe we aren't able to fill in free agency and whatnot. So again, just some thoughts there. But right now, these are starters. Right? This is basically one of our linebackers, is how I look at it. So, but I want to make sure Okudah's on the field as much as possible this year. He was, I think, 5th or 6th in Defensive Rookie of the Year. DeAndre Swift did win Offensive Rookie of the Year. He almost had 1,000 yards rushing. I'll go show you his stat line here in a second. So, what else? I mean, we're actually, I think we're okay, really, in the defensive backfield. There's nothing really too glaring. Deron Harmon, just as a precaution, I did re-sign. He regressed a little bit, but at 78, he's okay. It's a position otherwise I would look to upgrade, but right now we have so many holes that he'll be fine for a year. Tracy Walker is going to continue to develop and will probably get an extension this year. I like Tracy Walker, so we can see how that goes. And yeah, that's it. We need a kicker. I don't want to pay big money to an aging kicker. So anyway, free agency. We aren't getting too crazy with free agency. I'll be honest with you. So, do want to bring in a backup quarterback, but honestly, not yet. Not until probably after the draft, just in case we do draft somebody. I don't want to spend big money. And all of these guys right now want bigger money. So, we are waiting on quarterbacks. I try to keep an eye and just see who's getting attention, such as Winston getting an offer. I think there was one other guy. Maybe not. So, we'll keep an eye on that. We're not really looking at halfback yet. Maybe we'd look at a receiving back if we don't get one in the draft. I'm not looking at fullback. By the way, here are the top running backs. Alvin Kamara, of course, would be a nice signing, but I don't want to spend that kind of money right now. We don't have a ton of cap room. I do have 2 offers out there, which is why you see the cap room so low. But to be really, really particular in what we're doing here, receiver we definitely need because otherwise I'm going to be picking 2 receivers in the draft. And so this is kind of where my dilemma is trying to figure out. I got about 20 million in cap room, right? We have an offer on a right tackle right around 10 or 11 million. And I'm trying to decide between a receiver or a middle linebacker to use the rest of the money on. The other option, though, is like, well, that's going to leave us like nothing. And so really, I might be better just to kind of, because right now, these guys aren't getting offers yet. And there are some guys, I know everybody loves John Ross and whatnot because he's so fast, but this isn't a receiver I'm really interested in. I just don't want to take advantage of just using speed. And I'm looking for guys who run good routes. And so some of the guys I did like, though, I do like Marquise Goodwin, who also has good speed, but is also a decent route runner. And can run after the catch, has possession catch. He'd be a nice guy to kind of put in that slot for some mismatches here. And so no one has an offer on him yet. So again, there's not a huge rush. Who else was I looking at? He was one. believe there's one other guy. I'd have to go back and look. It might have been Kendrick Bourne here. Yeah, so Kendrick Bourne, another guy who could come in and would really be kind of like a perfect 2-3 guy. You could really slot into either spot. But again, it's just that money, right? He wants about $7 million, so that's actually not too bad. He might be a safe signing for us to go out and get for some depth there at receiver, which would make a lot of sense. And then let's see, tight end. Again, we're not really looking at tight end. Linemen, there are quite a few decent linemen, but they're all kind of in that mold of, I mean, I want interior linemen. I'm not really a big believer in spending big money on interior linemen, though, which is what these guys want, like Alex Mack, I should say, who can move to guard. Ron Leary's a good player, but these are also undisciplined guys. So the guy we're actually looking at is Taylor Moughton, I think that's how you say his name. He is an agile right tackle. He would obviously come in and fill a huge hole and a huge problem area that we had last year. He's a balanced penalty tendency and is a really good pass blocker there, it just makes a lot of sense. So I think, bringing him in makes a lot of sense. And then as we just kind of go through the defense here, you can see there's some good defensive tackles there, but again, with us moving hand on the inside, I think we're okay. Linebackers are a little bit thin. Dante Hightower is a guy we have an offer out on now, but I'm truthfully considering withdrawing it. We looked at Jelani Tavai, who's like a 73. I'm not sure if I want to put our money there when we have the holes we have at receiver. To me, it might make more sense to, so that way we're not handcuffed to using 2 of our 6 draft picks on a receiver, for instance. Shaq Barrett, again, good player, but in our system would probably be more of a defensive end. And again, I don't really want to spend that much money on a kind of an undersized defensive end. I do like Demario Davis, but we'll keep an eye out. So far, he has no offers. Maybe he's a guy that's available after the draft. And there are actually a lot of good defensive backs, but we don't have really a need for defensive backs. But as I just click through here, you can see some good names. Kicking, looking at Will Lutz, I think is a guy I'd like to sign, but we're going to hope that his ass comes down a little bit. Otherwise, I have no problem just signing a younger kicker and letting him develop. So that's where we're at. So like I said, the offers that we have, 2 guys, right? Taylor Moton, who I think is going to make a lot of sense. We have offered him roughly $11 million. I'm sorry, we've offered him more than that. We've offered him about $12 million or so per year for 3 years at 27. So I think he will hold that low 80s rating or so. If we like an 82 to 83 or so most of the time he's with us. Is it overpriced? Yeah, a little bit. But it's such an important position on this team. It's almost the new left tackle at this point, the way teams are using pass rush off the left side of their defense, right side of the offensive line. So makes a lot of sense. I think I am going to withdraw our offer from Dante Hightower just because there are some middle linebackers in this draft that maybe we could grab. Worst case, Jelani Tavai, I user him anyway. So, I mean, I can make up for some of his shortcomings. So if we go look at receiver, I actually really like AJ Green as well. But if we're looking to kind of be as frugal as possible, this guy would come in and be a number 1 for the type of money he's looking at. I'm not a number 1, but he'd be a number 1, number 2 starting receiver there. He wants about $11 million per year. I'm not going to re-sign Marvin Jones. He wants $9 million. So Kendrick Bourne had about $7 million per year for 3 years. This could make some sense here. It would save us a little bit of money. He can play in the slot pretty well. And if we do draft a receiver, even in the top 5 of the draft or whatever, we can still use Kendrick Bourne, no problem. He's got all 3 of the different catch tendencies. He keeps his feet in bounds. So, and he runs good routes, which is definitely what I want. I wanted somebody, so Galladay can run deep, right? No problem. He's our red zone threat. I want a guy who can do those complementary routes, so like shorter routes, mid routes. I definitely want to make sure we have 2 other receivers who can do that, and this guy fits that for sure. So I definitely like him. Let's see. And I mentioned Marquise Goodwin, same thing. Let me see what kind of money he's looking for. So he's only wanting about $4 million. So Marquise Goodwin could make even more sense as we just try to save money. Now this guy would, this guy would definitely be more of the slot role. And more specifically, I did want to add some speed, which of course he would. Lots of speed. He can still run good routes. He still has possession and run after catch. He doesn't have the aggressive catch, but with the slot guy who's running over the middle, who's only 5'9", I'm not using aggressive catch too often with him. So really, bang for your buck. This could be a really, really nice signing. And maybe what we do is we keep an eye on these guys. If they aren't getting any offers, there's no reason to run around and risk spending the money just now. We can keep that cap space, see how the draft goes. Because let's just say we do pick 2 receivers who have good depth trades. Maybe we just go with 2 rookies. Or, again, $7 million. They have no offers yet. Goodwin's got no offers, and he wants 4. So, and he's at 30. So that's the other thing too, is a little bit risky there. So I think we just keep an eye on these 2 guys, and I think we just kind of go through the first few phases of free agency here, and just try to sign our tackle. I've offered him. It's no guarantee. Here's what we've offered him. It's no guarantee he will sign even with the highest one. But we have tried our best to go land this guy here. So this would be a really nice addition, and I would be perfectly fine with if that's all we do before the draft. I mean, it leaves us open to a few different things here. Maybe we look to trade Kerryon Johnson before the draft, that kind of thing, which is another consideration we have. So anyway, thanks for checking out the stream, everybody. Appreciate you being here. I'm just checking the chat, see if we have any questions. There are nothing yet. So, all right, let's advance to week 2. I think the draft is after week 4 of free agency, I believe. All right, see if we got our tackle. Sweet. Okay, this is awesome. So Taylor Moton is now a Detroit Lion. I am very happy. He was by far the #1 guy I wanted. The only guy we put an offer out on, and we'll just kind of go in and take a look there. Played at Western Michigan, so coming back home. Yeah, just really excited to have him in the mix. So 6'5", 325 is a guy you can run behind with an 84 run block. He's a good pass blocker as well, 86 pass blocking. Welcome to the Detroit Lions, Taylor Moton. So very, very nice signing. We get to do some more scouting. Nick Bodden, our fullback, is back from injury. Great. All right, let's do some scouting. Let's actually check in on the free agents really quick. And again, as I talk through this, I hope that this is helpful for people who are maybe navigating franchise mode either for the first time or just looking for just new approaches, especially with a bad team like we had here, or like we've had here the last number of years. So just looking through quarterbacks. No quarterbacks have any offers. Let's actually look at the league signing. So Winston does sign with the Colts. This guy, he's a 51 overall. Signs with the Texans. I guess they just wanted a cheap quarterback. So some of these really cheap guys. Okay, it's interesting. Alvin Kamara signs with the Washington football team. Other than that, we got some lower rated running backs finding new homes. But Kamara is off the board. A couple fullbacks off the board. No receivers have been signed, so that's good news for us. I would love to go into the draft with those guys just still sitting as a free agent, because we can go through the draft and then we can sign them after if we need them. Gerald Everett signs with the Carolina Panthers. Villanueva, I believe he was with the Steelers before, so he goes back to the Steelers, it looks like. Forrest Lamp signs with the Chargers. A really bad center signs. Leary signs with the Bengals. Some other dudes. Okafor goes with the Colts. These other guys are kind of bums. No offense to them. Damon Harrison goes to the Colts. Looks like the Colts are spending some money this year. Sheldon Rankins to the Jets. Dante Hightower goes to the Panthers. So he's off the board. Shaq Barrett with the Ravens. Eli Apple goes back to the Giants. That's funny. DJ Hayden back to the Bay Area. Marcus Williams with the Dolphins. It's a good signing for them. Panthers active. Very, very active. A couple kickers signed, but luckily not the guy we're looking at. So there you go. So as we look at who's still available, I mean, there's a lot of talent still available. But again, as we look through our positions, we saw the quarterbacks are being left alone, which is good. Because I don't want to spend big money on a backup quarterback, but we obviously want to have something there. But we can see how the draft goes. Halfback, same thing. I'm not looking until after the draft. And if I did sign anybody, it would be a receiving back. So we'd have to kind of dig through that later, but for now, it's not necessary. Receiver, AJ Green, sitting there, no one's bugging him. Kendrick Bourne sitting there, no offers. Just what we want to see. Marquise Goodwin, no offers. So again, we can kind of stay quiet. It doesn't look like they come down in their asking price. So you know, maybe we could throw a low offer or something, but right now we don't have a lot of cap room, right? So I mean, after the draft, we're gonna still have some holes to fill, and I would rather just kind of see how the draft goes. It doesn't handcuff us to having to skip on a really good player or anything like that. I would love to grab another interior lineman, but again, this guy's going to be making $10 million at age 35. I don't really know if I want to do that, and so again, leaves us open for a draft pick. Our offensive line is already far better than it was last year, so I'm very happy with that. But honestly, this might be it going to the draft for me. I'm perfectly fine with just kind of how things look. Demario Davis, the one linebacker, he's the one I liked. Yeah, so he's got an offer now, but he's making $15 million a year ish is what it looks like. There's no way I'm spending that right now. We don't even have it. I wouldn't be able to. So the other spot we're keeping an eye on is kicker. Again, though, maybe that comes down a little bit later. Just got to see how much money we have left over. I don't mind spending money on a kicker, but our budget is pretty tight. So scouting, I think we get a few more weeks of scouting at this point. So we're just going to kind of look around and see. I've scouted the quarterbacks. There's really nothing there. I'm not going to waste, there could be maybe a gem down here. I'm not going to waste it. Halfback, I've only scouted one, and he actually did come out pretty good. So as I mentioned, this is a guy I'm looking to grab, probably with our 6th round pick, if he's available. So we do have the combine results too. So he's not super fast, but it's fast enough. But he is the top receiving back in the draft, basically, with a 3rd round grade, but projected to be a 7th round pick. So we'll see if he's still available, but I would love to snag him later. So that comes out nice. Let's see if any of these quarterbacks are super fast. Just looking for like really high combine grades. It's got the highest, 5.8, 5.9. Yeah, so nothing too crazy, it looks like. Yeah, not crazy fast. Halfback, I haven't even scouted. Looks like this guy got a great rating. Oh, maybe not. 14th in the dash. We will take a close look at receiver because, for instance, Cassius Ballard, there are some fast receivers in this draft. The fact that he has a 4.39 but is 6th. So just because it's not green, I mean, 4.39 is still fast as hell. And look how agile this guy is with that 20-yard shuttle and the 3-cone. Yeah, he's definitely be a good player. Ron Capps, 4.3. This guy's fast as hell. Also very agile. He's a deep threat with really good hands. Ballard, deep threat, but can also run the short route. So that's why I still like Cassius Ballard better. I just like that he can run deep and short routes. I have a deep route guy. It's nice to have two, but we need guys who can run short too. You just can't run everybody long. This is the one guy I haven't scouted, truthfully, because he's 5'9", and I wanted to see it. So he is the fastest in the draft. So I think we will scout him at this point. I wanted to make sure that he brought something like that to the table. This guy might be the most athletic receiver. So I think that's where we're going to start our scouting today. So he comes out as an early first too. So this is why I didn't want to sign a receiver. There are some really interesting options. I admit it though, I have a hard time drafting a 5'9" receiver like fourth overall. I have an issue with it. I mean, I love these guys running over the slot. I mean, they're basically like having a running back out there who can catch and run with the ball. But it's a lot of money to give a 5'9" wide receiver. No offense to our 5'9" receivers out there. It's just, I mean, that's the reality of it. You know, I weigh 205. I know my roles too. Like, I'm not running sprints. You know, so I'm not a what do you want to call it? Like a short yardage runner or anything like that. I'm not a track athlete running the 40-yard dash in record time. So I know my limits. I'm 6 foot. You know, I think maybe 6.5 if I'm lucky. And I know my limits. Like I said, I'm not a power forward. I'm not a center. I'm not a good basketball player. I always say I'm not fast. I'm not tall. So that's how that goes. So it's no knock. It's just the reality of Eddie Cardona here. So let's see. Boy, there are a lot of receivers. I mean, on our draft board in particular, we need to actually move up Cardona, which we'll do later. But you know, just looking at some of these other grades here, some really, really fast receivers in this draft. So this is a guy we could definitely get later. Still fast, not super athletic. I'd like to see more athleticism, especially in a slot type build. Ooh, he's not very athletic either. He's just a big dude, though. Highest bench press of all receivers. This guy's like a skinny tight end, basically. B+ release. Can jump. If we didn't have a Kenny Galladay, I mean, he'd be a nice guy to, sorry I said a chill. He'd be a nice guy to bring in there. This guy's also got great jumping at 6'5". So again, more of a hands kind of guy there. There are so many, and this is again why I didn't want to, like, in real life, right? The 2019 draft was or I guess the 2020 draft was a very receiver heavy draft. This one's even more so. There is a ton of receiver depth. 21 years old, 6'5". Doesn't really have not a great combine though. Man, there's some big receivers. Oh yeah, we saw Eddie Cardona. Boy, Eddie Cardona. I was kind of hoping he wouldn't scout out that well. He did not disappoint there. He looks really damn good. Now, let's see. Tight ends I haven't scouted at all. Just not really interested. There are really no tackles that look good. I'm usually looking at bench press to kind of get an idea. I would love to get a new left tackle to kind of train behind Taylor Decker, who we could probably get rid of. But see, that's a guy, like I would grab this guy if we had a 7th round pick. I mean, 36 reps on the bench press. Seems to be pretty agile. I just usually don't spend my scouting on 7th round guys. It's kind of like, you might as well just pick them. You know, save the scouting for the heavier, the price tag guys you're going to actually be paying. He's not bad though. He might have the highest combine grade. I think he does. 2nd highest. Yeah, lineman pretty thin. Definitely pretty thin. It's not a good lineman draft this year, as you're probably seeing by some of these results. We are looking at a couple of these interior guys though. 30 bench press, that's not fantastic. 34, that's decent. It's pretty decent. So again, if this guy maybe falls to the 2nd, it'd be nice to pick up another interior lineman. Looks like those are the highest rated guys. Not a lot. So glad we signed that right tackle. This is a really... Alright, he doesn't look too bad. 37 reps on the bench press. So I wouldn't mind grabbing him. I'll throw him on our board even. It's a potential 6th round pick there. Ooh, where are we picking, by the way? Ooh, we have the 3rd pick. Wow. I thought it was going to be 4th or 5th. That's bad news, though, in my opinion. I'd rather pick a little bit lower. It's just going to make that guy really expensive. Ooh, 7.6. That guy is pretty athletic. Not crazy fast. But everything else, this guy's a monster. Strong and super agile. He's what, an early 1st? Yeah, that guy could be. But again, he might last till the 2nd round if he wasn't scouted. And that's how, I don't know how the AI teams are going to do. Like, if this is an online league, obviously, he would be picked really early because enough people would have scouted him. I'm not sure how the AI does it, so I don't know if I should skip on that guy. I didn't scout him just because he's too big. These guys aren't really needs for us. These big ends, even if we put him on the inside, we have 2 tackles right now. He's got a nice combine. Throw him on our list. Might scout him. Oof. That is one athletic dude. Dang. He's only 21. I'm curious to see where he goes. Or what he looks like after he's picked. Linebacker, we could definitely use a little help with. This guy would not be a scheme fit. But would probably play right end for us if we did grab him. jeez. Thanks. Nice. Okay, that's what I was hoping to see. He's got to be pretty smart too. I mean, he went to Yale. Add him to our board. He's got some real nice combine. Could take a look at him. Don't really need corner, but we will. It's definitely a. So I don't know. He's probably going to grade out really high, and I wouldn't pick him, so I'm not going to scout him. It'd just be a waste. It's crazy that 4.43 is the 9th fastest. Guy's athletic too. I'm just going to assume those guys will get picked quick, and I'm not going to waste the scouting on them. This guy's only 21. Oh, wow. So there's a steal. Early first. Like, that's a guy we could probably get in our 2nd round pick. Pretty athletic, but it's almost like you don't need to waste any more scouting with him sitting there. And what are the odds that one of these guys are as good? Damn, we might have just found a gem there. Pretty athletic. Probably take a look at him. Actually, let me go back to my lineman with our new scout. We hired all new everything. New scout. So I should get discounts now on linemen. Trying to round off this random points I have left over. So if I do the first 2 linemen. Okay, yeah, this can work. So, no, I would love to. Just looking at the bench press here to see maybe a guy we can steal later. 32 for center. Ooh, okay, Dakota Reeves. So I want to finish scouting him, but we have to wait until next week. that gives us 10. Alright, so that's... .6'3" corner. Wow. This guy read this last 10 points here. So he's a B. Alright, moving on. So we have a few more rounds of that and then the draft. But free agents can be pretty quiet for us unless we have to start. Unless we're kind of forced into competing. But let's see what the league's been doing here. And let's just see if any new big names came off. Okay, Alex Mack signed with the Seahawks. Bud Dupree's now gone. And then the top available. AJ Green, still no offers. Same thing with Marvin Jones. Our kicker's still there. Bourne's still there. Perfect. And good one. So, again, pretty easy. I don't need to do anything. Oh, let's check quarterbacks. I do need to keep an eye on that position. Yeah, still plenty of options, but I don't want to pay somebody that much money. By the way, you see on the screen it has that hold to reorder. If you ever want to know how to get rid of that, here's how you do that. You just go to your draft board, and then just like move a dude, it'll go away. Speaking of, we need to slot these new guys we scouted here. So Enrique Sanford, I think, could definitely be a Lion. Would love to try and grab him in the 4th or 5th round. And now I'm super glad I didn't sign Dante Hightower, if that's the case. Doesn't have a great combine, but I still think he can be a pretty good player, really good size. Anyway, he came out as what? A late 3rd. Okay. Arizona, they're going to go right to the top. Jeez. I don't know who I'd pick. Spectacular catch. I still think I would take Cassius Ballard. Is that crazy? I mean, what would you guys do here? That 40-yard dash is ridiculous. The dude can still jump, too. Well, at least again, that's a lot of that's coming from his 40-yard dash. He's super agile. I just wish I knew more about like his short running ability, because if this guy can only run deep, I have no interest in him, especially at 5'9". So that's why I just don't think I would pick him. So what, Peter Warrick, right? That receiver the Bengals picked the one year. I mean, it's kind of had a profile like that. Oops. Whereas Cassius Ballard, like I know for sure he can run short routes, and we assume he can run deep routes since he's a deep threat. He's also super agile, and he's not slow, even though he's only the 6th fastest, a 4.39, and that's still pretty damn fast. Now this guy's he's a blazer, but I just worry about if he can't run short routes, he's just never going to catch long balls. I mean, he might be able to burn by some guys, but like if there's any kind of height, they're going to knock it down. Like how are you going to aggressive catch with a guy like him? So, I don't know. I have a hard time. I mean, if we needed, hey D-Man, no, I got the 3rd pick. It looks like, according to this here. So we got six picks this year. Would love to trade down and try to get some more. And maybe that's what we even do in the 1st round is we move down. Because I mean, there are a lot of guys here I'd be happy with, but Cassius Ballard, for instance, he's going to go pretty early. I mean, he might go 1 or 2. So maybe, that would be a challenge, right? It's like, okay, well, what do I do here? Because, would I go grab a guy like Ron Capps, who's got really good hands? He's the 2nd fastest receiver. He's still pretty agile. But I don't know anything about his route running. And that's just a big thing for me, especially with, Matthew Stafford, who's not always the most accurate. I mean, I need to make sure those guys are going where I want them to. And there's so many free agent receivers just sitting out there. No one's signing them. So to me, it's like Cassius Ballard, or I would probably move on to something else, like a Tony Henson. I mean, this guy would come in and be our right end. I mean, this guy would be a monster right end for us. He's only 21. So I can tell you right now, like, these guys are kind of my top 2 right now. Kyle Gibbons is also an early, but he's originally slotted as a 2nd. See, so is Tony Henson. Early 2nd. So, like, Tony Henson, like I could get one of these ends maybe in the 2nd round, which is just wild. So, like, if Ballard's gone, maybe we trade down. Because, I mean, to get a second rounder, for instance, I mean, there's a lot of these guys like this. Like, Ben Carden could be sitting there, an interior lineman that we need, who's got a really nice bench press for a center. But, we could move Ragnow to guard if we wanted, if we felt he wasn't strong enough to be a guard. I originally needed defensive tackles, but now that we're moving hand on the inside, it's really not too pressing. At the same time, Danny Shelton's not getting any younger. Taekwon Cadet, I mentioned middle linebacker. I mean, this guy checks out. This guy looks pretty studly. He's a late 1st, so if we traded down, like, he would make a lot of sense, right? I mean, we're in a good spot. We're in a really good spot. Like I said, we have some holes. You can look there and you can see, I mean, we need receiver, we need a backup quarterback. Halfback's rated low, but I'm fine with what we have in the tool bag there. I don't want to spend a lot of money at running back. We've upgraded the right tackle. I would love to upgrade left tackle, but there's A, not enough money, and B, there's just no one to really go grab. So it is Taylor Decker for now. And I would like to get another interior lineman, as you can see there. On the defense, again, a pass rushing right end with our new scheme is something we need. I do like Julian Okwara, both in Madden and in real life, but he's just not there yet. He's a 70 overall, so that would be a bit of a hole. We need a 2nd linebacker at least. Hopefully at least somebody to go in and kind of push Jelani Tavai. We're going to run a nickel pretty much most downs. And our defensive backfield's fine. Of course, we need a kicker. So, it's funny. Kicker is I actually wouldn't mind scouting some of these kickers. And I don't know, like, I'm just wondering, like, would it be better to, hey, Eastern Michigan, that's where I went for my undergrad. Look at that. I don't know if it would be better to, like, I mean, these guys are all undrafted, like, they could be bums, but, like, if we get a late 7th in a trade, It's going to save us a lot of money by being able to pick a kicker. But I'm just I'm wondering like what correlates to like being a good kicker, because that's a lot of points here. This would be 60 points to scout all these guys. And with free agent kickers out there, we can probably just wait till they hit the free agent wire anyway. I'm pretty sure we'll be okay at kicker, I guess is what I'm saying. I do know I wanted to finish scouting that one lineman here. This guy. I have a feeling this guy could be really good. Okay, yeah, so he's a mid-second. So, yeah, we are finding some steals for sure. Let's go back to our draft board, though, and get that organized. Just with those guys that I more recently threw on here. So, there's going to be, look at this. There's going to be so much talent when our second round pick comes up. It's kind of scary. Like, this guy looks like totally legit. I mean, to get one of these three defenders in the second round, and I don't know if the AI is going to let them fall. And so maybe, is it an issue where we trade back, and then what happens is just say, like, these two guys get picked, so only one of them's left, then we move up and grab the last one, right? So it could be like a trade back up. Or trade back and then trade forward, if you know what I'm saying. Because to get one of these guys, along with another, I mean, you're getting 2 first-round picks, no problem, and probably picking up some later picks. So, I mean, that is pretty damn awesome. And that's how we could maybe, free ourselves up to grab a quarterback to slot in behind Stafford and just put him in the development cycle, put him in the weekly training, and just let him sit for a year and get up to like 75, 76 or whatever. Or Stafford gets hurt, we have an option. I mean, that's definitely possible. Dakota Reeves. Like seeing these interior linemen we can grab later. So just throw him there for now. Doesn't need to be perfect. We just kind of threw this guy on as a late pick option, kind of along with Theo Thomas. This guy won't be bad either. Just throw him there. Why do I have these guys here? Take him off. Huh, John Crosby's the fastest corner. Yeah, we can give it a quick. Alright, very nice. Oops, I accidentally just took him off. John Crosby, where'd you go? Man, it's almost like they're making it too easy to scout. Like, they're just plucking guys everywhere. So he was what, early second. Good grief. Yeah, whatever. Alright, any of these other bums I want to take off of here? Oops, I keep removing them on accident. A lot of talent. This is what the Lions need, though. We just need to get some stronger drafts going. Of course, much easier in Madden than it is in real life, just to pluck all this talent. And tick him off. Okay, so that's looking good. So I'm gonna keep looking at linemen at least around this off. 35 reps isn't bad. Wouldn't be a scheme fit, but is it this one? And see, even though these centers have good blocking for a center, we have a center. I want to move him to a guard. So, you know, like for instance, this guy he is 5th for centers with his 32 reps, so it's still pretty average for a guard. Alright, let's go scout those dudes. Okay. Mid-6th. He's an option. We'll leave him there. I don't think if a lineman has B, I haven't had anything come back if your first grade's a B is like anything good. So I might just save. Yeah, he was a 6. We're just gonna take him off. And then as you go through the draft, sometimes you'll see like players like this guy. Well, I'm sorry, not him. Some players will just kind of jump up the draft board towards the end. They usually get reslotted all the time. So I mean, definitely keep an eye on that order. This guy would be more of a defensive tackle for us. This guy looks so good. Just in case we trade back, I want to get a good look at him. Okay. Henry Thomas is an option. Looking at this guy, it never hurts to have corners. Yeah, He looks legit. He'll be long gone by the time we pick. This guy's a zone scheme fit, but dude looks really good. I wish he had like a man coverage that was in that B- range we'd see. He's 23 though as well. And he was what, a late mid? Alright, I think that does it. Alright, so we're going to have, let's see, a few more weeks of free agency. But again, it's going to be pretty low key. I mean, I think there's one more week of scouting at this point, because I don't think the last free agent week you scout. Maybe you do. I know the draft one you don't, or at least you didn't amend 20. So again, there's really not a ton of free agency that's still going on with the Lions here. Just kind of looking to make sure some of the targets we have slotted for potentially after the draft aren't being pursued. So long as they aren't, we're just going to stay quiet and keep our roughly 10 plus million in the bank for now. Looks like they left about 14 million or so slotted for the draft. So we really have about 24, 25 million in cap room. So there's still a lot. We just got to kind of see how the draft goes. Trading down from the first overall pick, or I'm sorry, the third overall pick, but moving down in the first round is going to bring that the amount of money that they have slotted for the draft down, which is good. So trading down is in my opinion, just about in every scenario, usually a good thing for a team. It's going to save you money. You can still probably find a talented, sometimes more talented player than if you were to stay put. So trading down from 3 for the Lions is definitely an option. I think if Cassius Ballard is there, he would probably be the guy we would want to take. Slot in immediately as a starting receiver for us to go along with Galladay. If not, it's very, very likely. I think we're going to try to trade down and maybe pick up 2 firsts or something like that, or certainly a second, early second pick, something like that, because there are a handful of players in that range who look super good, and to be able to pluck, 2 or 3 of them would be fantastic. In my opinion, probably better than just picking a guy at 3. So that's kind of the general plan. So we're getting close to game time here in real life with the Lions and Saints. So I'm going to be wrapping this one up. But again, we just really meticulously went through just some free agent stuff. We signed one guy, very, very minor, low key. And I think sometimes that's an important strategy to look at and discuss, because you don't always have to make big splashes, especially in the NFL. Cap penalties are a real thing, even though the contracts aren't guaranteed. The bonus money is. And that's where your cap penalties come from. And so it's very, very important to sometimes, they'd say in sports, right? Sometimes the best trade is the trade you never make. It's kind of the same thing in free agency, right? Sometimes the best signing is the one you don't make. Like we passed on Dante Hightower, and now we've scouted a few middle linebackers who look like they're going to be available in the 3rd and 4th round, who could come in and probably be just as good as Dante Hightower is later on in their career. And so at a far, far less expensive rate, those guys will be making, not even $500,000, whereas Dante Hightower is going to be 10 or 11 million a year. And so those are little ways in which you can really, really find savings. I'm a big believer that, like in the NFL, you use free agency. Like you find a big splash free agent when it's like the puzzle piece you need to get to the Super Bowl. When you're a team that's rebuilding, just dropping $15-20 million contracts, it's just going to keep you in that weird purgatory level of like you're just not very good, and you're probably not going to be bad enough to really help yourself in the draft. And to me, it's like build slowly, project players, find players in the draft you can develop. When you get to that point where you're maybe on the cusp of a playoff team, or you are a playoff team looking to get to the next level, that's when you bring in your top-notch player, your big free agent signing. But then you probably have the cap space to do it. So that's what we're doing here. Again, we have a new coach now, so that's going to be exciting. And that's it. So that's it for this episode. I'll be doing the draft next. That's going to be the next episode. It's going to be all draft related, as it most likely seems. So thanks for watching, everyone. I'm Mike Lowe. You can follow me on Twitter at MikeLowe47. And otherwise, the sliders that we use, even though we didn't do gameplay today, are up on Operation Sports, All-Madden, broadcast camera. Check out some of those previous streams if you want to see the gameplay on that. And if you're curious how to set that camera up, check the very first episode. That information's there. So until next time, until the draft, I will talk to you soon.